Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to Day 17, another edition of albums that are 50 years old in 2021. I was recently told that I can't say good morning anymore because even though it's really early in the morning here, my time, that by saying good morning, I'm disrespecting members of my audience who happen to be watching at a different time, and then I'm getting really full of myself because I don't care about you people. Anyway, yes, this is day 17, 28 days of February. Each day I am picking a favorite album released in 1971. Classic album that turns 50 this year. We are now more than halfway through the month, right? So I'm picking 28 favorites, one each day, plus an honorable mention that comes from the larger list. Didn't quite make the cut, and I'm asking all of you to do the same in the comments below. So today, I know a lot of you have been waiting for this. It's funny because I looked at my list this morning, and it's pretty backloaded. I got some pretty heavy hitters coming up, as I'm sure most of you have been waiting for this one. I've seen a lot of you post this one already, and as you should, because it's a great one. It's one of the greats from this year. Here we have a live album, right? Released in July 1971, recorded March 12th through the 13th of that same year at the Fillmore East in New York City, produced by Tom Dowd. Of course, we're talking about Allman Brothers at Fillmore East. All right, so of course this happens to be the deluxe CD edition with a couple of extra tracks. If you had the early or the original LP, of course, you didn't get a couple things that are on this deluxe, but I've had this deluxe edition for, a long time, and this kind of really puts together the whole experience, I think, quite good. So this is, ironically enough, like only the third release from the Allman Brothers Band, and kind of ballsy, right? Band only has 2 studio albums. And both of those studio albums are, really didn't make a huge impact. The band were really starting to pick up steam on the touring circuit, but not selling a ton of albums, surprisingly, because I think we all look at both the debut Allman Brothers Band album and Idlewild South as 2 absolute classics of the, that era. So if you want to call them blues rock, southern rock, whatever, I mean, they're seminal albums. Yet at the time, neither one of those albums were busting up the charts. They weren't selling tons of copies. Like I said, people were starting to hear the buzz about the Allmans on the touring circuit. So, and neither one of those albums are longer than a half hour long. So barely. So you got maybe an hour, maybe slightly over an hour's worth of content between those 2 albums. So what do? They go out and they're playing tons of shows, and a frequent stop of theirs was, of course, at the Fillmore East. They played the Fillmore West quite a bit too. Billy Graham was more than willing to have them come play as often as possible, and they decided to record the 2 nights here at the Fillmore to possibly release as a live album. And wouldn't you know it, that's the album that made the Allman Brothers Band. Totally made them stars. There was no looking back after that, unfortunately. As we all know, tragedy would strike not too long afterwards with the death of both Duane Allman, and Barry Oakley, not that far apart, in the same area, both motorcycle accidents. I mean, just bizarre circumstances, right? But back to the album. I think for most people who have played guitar in their life, who maybe were, teenagers or kids when this was released and grew up afterwards. If you played rock guitar at all, if you were interested in rock guitar at all, you had to love, enjoy, and soak in the influence from this album. I don't know too many people who don't cite Live at the Fillmore or At the Fillmore East from the Allman Brothers Band as, taken some sort of influence from it, whether you're talking about famous guitar players or just people you happen to meet who play guitar, right? Everybody's tried to cop a few licks from this album. Dickie Betts and, of course, Duane Allman. There's just some legendary playing on here, and arguably the ultimate songs, the ultimate versions, right? the essential versions of all these tracks are from this album. From Statesboro Blues, kicking it all off, right? That wonderful slide guitar. You've got Trouble No More, the simmering Trouble No More. You got Don't Keep Me Wondering. Again, the kind of bluesy, atmospheric nature of some of these tracks. And then when the guitar solos kick in, just explodes. You got Greg's amazing, sultry, smoky vocals and Hammond organ, the dual drums from Mr. Trucks and Mr. JMO, right? Done Somebody Wrong. You got Stormy Monday, a really nice version of that. Then you got, on here, you got One Way Out, right? You got the incredible, and for me, the best version ever of In Memory of Elizabeth Reed, the kick-ass fusion. I always called it a jazz fusion song because that's basically what it is. That's kind of like the blueprint for a lot of stuff that came after it. One of the greatest compositions ever by Dickie, In Memory of Elizabeth Reed. Just love it to death. You Don't Love Me. And then here on this version, you got Midnight Rider, not on the original LP, right? Then you got Hot Lana, an enormous 23-minute whipping post. Then you've got Mountain Jam, which is also over a half hour, which was not on the original album, okay, but on the Eat a Peach album, inserted here where it always should have been. And then Drunk at Hearted Boy. So, I mean, this reissue, this deluxe edition from Mercury, released many years later, this is the true representation of an Allman Brothers Band performance, full performance at that time. So for me, this is the way to hear this album. Just absolutely incredible. A lot of times people ask, well, Pete, if you could go back in time and be at attend a concert that you obviously missed back in the day, what are some of them? And I often cite, various different things like Woodstock, the original Woodstock, and various like early notable Led Zeppelin shows, and perhaps like Genesis during the Peter Gabriel years in a small like theater in somewhere in the UK. But this is one of the ones I often think about. I would have loved to have been here on one of these two nights, or both, at the Fillmore East. Okay, watching the Allman Brothers Band as they perform this magical material here with the tape machines running, right? So there you have it. That's my pick of the day. And I decided to also do another live album today, okay, as my honorable mention. So today, here we're going to give some love to Johnny Winter and Live. All right, another really cool album, recorded at the same place, right? So here we've got Johnny Winter on vocals and guitar, Rick Derringer on vocals and guitar, Randy Joe Hobbs on vocals and bass, and Bobby Caldwell on percussion, recorded at Bill Graham's Fillmore East, as well as a little bit from Pirates World in Donia, Florida. So another really cool live album with it's just amazing how much smoking guitar work is on both of these, right? So this is Johnny Winter with the And Band. Johnny moving into that whole kind of real, heavier hard rock. Johnny's always been a blues player, but he started to incorporate more straightforward rock and hard rock elements into his playing and into the repertoire. And, when you got Rick Derringer on board and Bobby Caldwell, you better believe that you're going to have to play a little bit heavier music, right? So here you got Good Morning Little Schoolgirl, It's My Own Fault, Jumpin' Jack Flash, which was always been a staple of Johnny's set, Rock and Roll Medley, which has Great Balls of Fire and Long Tall Sally, as well as a whole lot of shaking going on, taking those old 50s and early 60s rock and roll classics, making it their own. Meantown Blues, and then a scorching version of Johnny Be Good. A lot of covers here, but still Johnny was notable for bringing a lot of cover tunes and kind of rearranging them, reworking them, and making them Johnny Winter staples, right? And the interplay between Johnny and Rick, unbelievable. I mean, you got four amazing guitar players here. So if you're looking for some early 70s smoking examples of some superior blues rock guitar firepower, check these out, please, if you haven't. I know everybody's heard this. There might be some people who haven't heard this yet, so if you haven't, go check it out. Fiery stuff. So there you have it. At Fillmore East from the Allmans, Johnny Winter and Live, two gems from 1971. In the comments below, please post your pick for today and your honorable mention. We'll continue on every day through to the 28th, and then we're going to start something completely different in March on a daily basis, so stay tuned for that and a lot more. What do we got coming up? So tonight we got a really special show for you tonight, okay? We have got Jim from Hitman Phil from Armored Saint, and Kurt from Metal Church coming on the show with myself. We're going to have a discussion about the 80s live metal scenes. What was the concert scene like? What was the club scenes like in our neck of the woods? Okay, we're all from different places in the country here in the States. What the scene was like when we were growing up, when we were younger, either attending or in their cases, playing the circuit back in the day. What was it like? What were some of the bands they kind of hobnobbed with, played with, right? Bands they checked out, loved seeing all the time. That is happening tonight. Tune in, don't miss it. Of course, tomorrow we've got a live show for the Monsters Den. Okay? Chris Allo, Rich Gattino, and myself will be live, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, live, talking about Animals Attack Part 2, going over some favorite films of ours where the animals go nuts, start killing people. We'll be taking some of your questions. That's happening tomorrow night. Also tomorrow night, Ryan Scow and I will be giving our 10 favorite albums from Manila Road. And then Martin Popoff and I will be back again on Friday morning for the fun show. Martin's coming up shortly, so stay tuned for that. And all sorts of other stuff happening over the next week or so. So thanks for everything. Make sure you subscribe. If you like what you see, please click on the Ko-Fi link below and make a donation. It's very much appreciated. And we'll see you later on, guys. Bye-bye.